years in my own seminars. However, my participants are fully aware of the process and what they can expect as a result of their participation. So there are a number of conversion techniques that I think I'll not cover today, and that's a good foundation to it, because the individual techniques will take a bit more to cover. But I think everyone from here, this page, bottom of page 9 on the paper Brainwashing from Dick Sutphin, it gives everybody a good foundation. And so when you're listening to music, and when you're listening to presentations, when people are attending seminars to make them improve their life and this type of thing, be aware that a lot of it is hidden in sound systems, and in fact even where you have heating and cooling in certain buildings, and specifically in meeting rooms, you'll have certain vibrational rates that can be measured when you put the metering on your head for your brain patterns, that can be shown when it goes from alpha to beta, or from beta to alpha, just by sitting there. So that's, I mean, it's remarkable the fellow who's put this out, because I'm sure it didn't make him too many, if any, friends by exposing some of this, although it has been well known. So anyway, I think I will stop with that, because we can cover the rest of it, just because it covered a lot of detail today, and we'll finish the paper Brainwashing by Dick Sutphin next week. So thank you. I want to continue on with this discussion of brainwashing, principally because it has come up so much over the decades. And if you look at Genesis 3, so right at the beginning of the creation and what God is doing with his ish and with his human beings that he's creating here, you can see a quite remarkable statement here. It says Genesis 3. Now the Nakash, usually translated as serpent or snake, the Nakash is more subtle or crafty than any beast of the field which Jehovah your Elohim has made. He said to the woman, did the Elohim say, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said to the Nakash, we may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree in the midst of the garden, God said, you shall not eat nor touch it lest you die. And the Nakash, the serpent, said to the woman, you won't die. So I mean, here's was commented about a bit earlier, was how suggestions can be made to us to somehow have a dramatic effect. It's a pertinent comment. Why, if God tells us something, God Almighty tells us something, do we not accept it? But if Satan or one of his emissaries suggests something to us, we immediately accept it. I just want to start with that, just so everybody has it in their head here before we get going, because I mean it's quite remarkable, really. So God Almighty, who just created you or manufactured you or whatever terminology you want to use, made you, tells you, you do these things, it'll work well. You do these things, it'll work not so well. But immediately another being, whether it was a snake or a Nakash, the spirit being in the garden, reasonably concluded to be Satan, makes a suggestion that, oh, no, you won't die. Go ahead and eat it. It's delicious. Okay. So I'll start here, or we'll continue on here with this paper. It's one of the few papers we've ever published by somebody else. And the reason is because no one could do a better job of writing this document or paper than Dick Sutphin. And when I communicated with him perhaps 15 years ago, and he mentioned that his book, The Battle for Your Mind, was available, and that we were free to publish this in any form we wished, because he felt this was one of the biggest threats he was seeing he was an American, so he's talking about the U.S. media, to where the U.S. media was brainwashing and programming the people who were listening to the news and what they were being presented with. And he wasn't very happy with it, with what he saw going on. So we covered the first 8 or 9 pages last week. It's a good document, but it's just, it's not a excessively detailed one. Everybody can read it and I think understand quite well. So I'd like to just continue on with I'm on page 9 here of Brainwashing from the Assembly of Aloha publication of this document by Dick Sutton. So I mean, he's a hypnotist. He uses hypnotism partly for shows. He uses it to show the effect of how he can induce certain conduct in people, which most hypnotists do not believe that they can induce you to do something you won't do. So you can see as we get to the end of this is whether you could believe that that wasn't true. Now in the Orient, they would capture Western flyers and reprogram them to go back into their native land, and with certain keywords cause havoc. I mean, they basically were communists that have adversely taken over planet Earth, including England and America. So just before we start here, I just want to mention here that the use of these hypnotic techniques by religions, so that's why I'm bringing it up today, is because it relates principally to how it's used in religions, your belief system. It's sophisticated. Professionals are assuring that they become even more effective, that they become, that a man in Los Angeles, unnamed here, is designing, building, and reworking a lot of churches around the country. He tells the ministries that that they need and should know how to use it. This man's track record indicates that the congregation and the monetary income will double if the minister follows his instructions, and he admits that about 80% of his efforts are in the sound system and in the lighting. Powerful sound and proper use of lighting are the primary importance in inducing the altered state of consciousness that I've been using them for years in my own seminars. This is a comment by Dick Sutton as a hypnotist. However, my participants are fully aware that they are in the process of what they can expect as the result of their participation. So, we'll continue on here then, on the bottom left side of page 9. 6 conversion techniques. Cults, human potential organizations, are always looking for new converts. We aren't. We understand that God Almighty will convert somebody whether we do or don't agree, or whether we do or don't agree with God Almighty's assessment of who's being converted. So, I mean, we've understood that for close to 50 years. So, we'll continue on then. To attain them, they must also create a brain phase. They often need to do it within a short space of time, as in a weekend or maybe even a day. The following are the 6 primary techniques used to generate this conversion. First tip-off. The meeting or training takes place in an area where the participants are cut off from the outside world. This may be any place, like a private home, a remote or rural setting, even a hotel ballroom where the participants are allowed to only limited bathroom usage. In human potential trainings, the controllers will give the lengthy talks about the importance of keeping agreements in their life. So that could relate to your baptism and the agreement you made with God Almighty from the effect of your baptism, which is your death, and the fact that you've been able to accept Christ's acceptable sacrifice on your behalf. Therefore, all of your formal sins are removed, or the penalties for your sin are removed, none of which removes your future sins. You receive the Spirit of God from hands being laid on. Therefore, you're not responsible for what you do.